My name is Jiles Smith, and welcome to Our Community. On Our Community today, we welcome Bill Holland.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Marvelous.
Outstanding. So we have some questions to ask you. I know you're running for county supervisor,
I am.
and we want to make sure that people get the chance to know you.
That'd be great.
So tell us more about yourself.
Well, I'm a 30-year resident of the High Desert. I've lived in San Bernardino County my whole life. Other than the 2 years I lived in Santa Maria where I was born. My wife and I moved up here in 1983, if I remember correctly. Lived in Victorville for a short time. Went to the Army. Spent 3 years in the U.S. Army. I was a military police officer, traffic accident investigator. Came out of the Army on a Thursday. Went into the Sheriff's Academy the following Monday. Spent 22 years with the Sheriff's Department. Did patrol duties in Morongo, Apple Valley, City of Victorville, and the City of Hesperia. I retired from the Sheriff's Department on a Thursday after 22 years of service and started with the Hesperia School Police the following Monday. Bit of a pattern. Spent 6 years with the Hesperia School Police. Time at all of the schools, but mostly stationed at Oak Hills High, Hesperia High, Sultana High, and my last station was Hesperia Junior High. I left the school police and I'm now a business owner. My wife and I own a coffee shop up in Crestline, and I do some freelance sales in addition, but I'm also a public servant in the form of a city councilman. I was elected in 2010 to the Hesperia City Council. I've been with the council now 6 years. I've served 2 terms as mayor in 2013 and now in 2016. And I decided to run as a candidate for 1st District Supervisor. Dad was a hard worker. We never wanted for anything, and he taught me the value of if you want something, you work for it. But he also taught me that he and Mom both to give back. You know, we're pretty fortunate. We live in a land of plenty. In junior high, I started to get into some trouble. Was a bit of a hooligan, and I got exposed to youth football. My coaches were all off-duty police officers and sheriff's deputies. They had a great impact on my life. Taught me the value of teamwork and hard work and discipline, and it's stayed with me ever since. So when I became an adult, it was a natural. Service in the Army, service in the Sheriff's Department, service as a citizen, as a volunteer. I formed a youth football program in '95. The Hesperia Sultans. In 2005, we merged the Sultans with the Scorpions, and they are the Trojans. Probably one of the most successful youth football programs in the High Desert. And that was kind of a hearkening back to my youth. I know that football taught me a lot. When I was part of the program, we didn't turn kids away. If they didn't have the money to play, we took care of it. Whether it was to go out and fundraise for them, offer them a scholarship, offer the parents an opportunity to volunteer with the program in order to help offset the funds for their children. Football's an expensive sport, so we wanted to make sure that kids got an opportunity to play. Many of the coaches and volunteers in my program were all talk with police officers and sheriff's deputies, that's extremely important. It's kind of inbred in that field.
Yeah, but there's some unintended consequences when the sheriff is doing those extracurricular activities, or firefighter, any kind of public servant, are there with the children at an early age. It gives them takes away that fear that you have of officers.
Absolutely. We're not robots. We're real people. We're excitable. We're angry. We're happy. We're emotional. And it's good for kids to see that police officers are real people. You know, it takes away the stigma that a lot of times the media attach to police officers.
Right.
You know, that we get to fix in 15 minutes what takes people 15 years to acquire,
Right.
whether it be problems or habits or what have you. We make split-second decisions that people second guess for months and years. And we don't have the luxury of instant replay.
Right.
So
So the issue I have with how people perceive law enforcement individuals, they have that, like you said, that split-second decision to make.
absolutely.
But they're dealing with people who are doing something wrong, mostly, 85-90% of the time.
Absolutely.
There's some outstanding citizens who are just doing something silly, just whatever, I get that. But when you have an issue, the first person you want to call is law enforcement to come and fix it for you.
You bet.
So they should get this leeway of, things can happen.
You know, discretion is a powerful tool that more law enforcement really should embrace. And I know with the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, discretion is a huge part of their training. There's such a thing as spirit of the law versus letter of the law. And not every situation requires the same type of response.
Right.
There's been many a time where I would pull somebody over and find out, what are they doing?
Right.
You know?
The wife could be pregnant, they could be speeding because of that.
Absolutely. There's a ton of different things. Did attitude play into it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, if I see that there's an absolute acknowledgement of what went wrong and a real sense that they're going to try and fix it, well, sometimes a warning citation is just as powerful, but it doesn't cause your insurance to go up, doesn't cause you to lose work,
Right.
doesn't cause you to go to court. Maybe that changes somebody's day. Maybe it changes their life.
Right.
I'd like to think that I had a pretty profound effect on the constituents in the community that I served, because frankly, it's the type of job where, and you have to be mindful of, you see people sometimes on their worst day,
Right.
their worst minute, and that might be the only experience they have with you. So you have to wear many hats, you have to wear them well, you have to be seamless, and you have to be a bit of a savant. You have to have some ability to empathize with people. And when I say savant, I know I got an odd look. What I mean by that is you're taking in a ton of information, you're analyzing it and spitting it out like a computer.
Right. Quickly.
Very quickly. I mean, heck, Rain Man knew how many toothpicks hit the ground.
Yeah.
So, and it's split second.
Yeah, but part of that,
I started in the Sheriff's Department in 1986 when gangs were kind of an early phenomenon, and I was part of the original SMASH team.
Oh, okay.
I was one of the charter members, pilot program, if you will, because gangs started to become prevalent. Gangs started to move here from the LA, San Diego, Orange County areas, mostly LA though. And we had to figure it out. We had to do it quick. So we got crash courses. Each station had SMASH representatives. They did the gang type criminal investigations. They sent us to LA to ride with Operation Safe Streets with LASO and the crash unit with LAPD. Two totally different ways of doing business, and depending on the application, both very effective. I tended to gravitate more toward OSS. simply because they built rapport. They got the gangsters used to seeing you. If you've ever seen the movie Colors, that's based on OSS. Hodges, the character played by Robert Duvall. Now, Sean Penn's character was really more like what LAPD was in those days.
That's interesting.
And it was funny because they were both LAPD officers. However, Hodges had the LASO mentality, and Sean Penn's character had the LAPD. LAPD's mentality wasn't wrong, but it was a different way of doing business. It was hard-nosed, in-your-face, aggressive, cut no slack. LASO's was, again, like Hodges, build a rapport, you know, get the people used to seeing you. If they ran, you knew something was up, because normally they got comfortable enough where you could roll up and have a conversation with, you know, little Snoopy and find out, you know,
What's really going on?
What's up?
Yeah.
I use the expression, you get what you pay for. In this case, the county and the citizens get double what they pay for. We do more with less than any county in the world. And it's time for that to start changing. Not that the deputies should do less, because that's not how they're built. And I shouldn't just say the deputies. We have just terrific law enforcement families around the county. Places like Colton, San Bernardino, Ontario, Redlands, Corona. I mean, just some terrific law enforcement agencies. In fact, I can't name a bad one, because I don't think there really are any, especially in this county. I don't know. Maybe there are some in other places. But here's the problem. There's a myriad of problems that underpaying our men and women in law enforcement create. I'll go over a couple. But it's very near and dear to my heart because I went through the exact same thing. So here's a bit of karma replayed. In the mid-1990s, San Bernardino County was the second lowest paid sheriff's department in the state, second only to Kern County, which was the lowest paid. We're an incredible amount bigger, more diverse, more citizens, more area. The list goes on and on. So here's the first thing. It's very tough when you're in that position to recruit quality men and women to wear the badge. You end up lowering your hiring standards. You end up making certain allowances to get people into the academy because you need the bodies. I don't fault the department. If I was going to fault anybody, I would fault the administration and the supervisors with the county. Because you have to put your money where your mouth is. And you don't go to a used tire store to put tires on a Maserati. Okay? Doesn't work. Likewise, we shouldn't be paying bargain basement rates for law enforcement in this county. So the first problem it creates is it creates horrible morale. Part of the problem is in attracting quality candidates. Makes it very difficult. If a candidate knows that they can come into the sheriff's department, spend a year, get their post certificate, which is what happens. You go through a qualified academy, you spend a year with that department, you now have a basic post certificate. That's your ticket, and you can go any place. And if you've done the right thing and kept your nose clean and been a hard worker, you can get hired on a department that might pay as much as $12,000, $15,000, $18,000 a year more. It's substantial. When you think about hourly, it could be as much as $5, $6, $8, $9 an hour more. Makes a big difference. Things like uniform allowances. In some places is fully paid. The officer pays nothing, or the deputy. So there's a myriad of things that make it very difficult to retain people as well, because they come in knowing that they're going to leave.
Well,
To be honest with you, it's both. And I'll explain that. First off, public safety, police fire, is an absolute need. It's a necessity. It's not a want. You have to have it. The main role of any public official, period, their first priority is public safety. There's nothing greater. because government really should be about this. Government should only provide for the citizens that which the citizens cannot provide for themselves. It's really that simple. So law enforcement, public safety, fire, that is exactly the role of government, is to create a strong, quality, cohesive law enforcement body. They have that. The Sheriff's Department's second to none. What happened on December 2nd proved we have the finest men and women in the world. Think about the other terror attacks that have taken place around the world. They're still looking for some of those terrorists.
Right.
Within hours, we found, confronted, and eliminated that threat. Period. We are a young county in the area of some of the growth areas, and the high desert is really the prime example. For instance, when I first moved to the high desert, the population might have been 25 or 30,000 in Hesperia. You could buy an acre of land for $7,000, $8,000. Main Street was 2 lanes, and it had just had the bridge built over the railroad. And you know, we could go on forever about that. So as you're a young, fledgling, growing community, the infrastructure requirements are incredible. One of the questions that we get asked as councilmen in Hesperia is, how come we don't have curb, gutter, sidewalks, streetlights?
Right.
What a lot of people don't understand is streetlights are a district unto themselves, and it's in Hesperia the park district has to maintain street lighting. Not a lot of people know that. If we were to put sidewalks and curbs in every street, we would run out of money probably in the first 20 streets. And I mean run out of money for the entire budget, not just roads. We still have dirt roads. There's a ton of dirt roads in Hesperia that haven't been paved. Something I would like to see. One of my colleagues, Smitty, used to say, there's
Good guy.
great guy. Smitty used to say, there's no problem that you can't fix as long as you got a giant bucket of money. Well, we have way more need than we have money to take care of. So you have to prioritize.
So what about poverty in our community? You know, we have homeless issues and we have poverty. How would you address that if you became supervisor?
Poverty, homelessness, they're somewhat similar, somewhat coupled, in that, not all cases, but in some cases, homelessness, we'll talk about for a sec, are a matter of choice. In some cases, horrible choices. Many of the homeless folks have mental health issues, they have addiction issues, and in some cases, and actually much more than the public realizes, it's a way to have zero responsibility and kind of live off the land. They know that they can pull on people's heartstrings to have them give them money. That is the worst possible thing you could do. Because truly, all you're doing is enabling somebody who has addictions, has mental health issues, has other problems. All you're doing is enabling them to continue that lifestyle. So homelessness and poverty, really it's about education. People who are in poverty without a way out, in many cases, is because they've made some choices. Now that is not to say that all people that are in a poverty area or poverty level have made a choice to be there. That's not the case. Almost every situation is a case-by-case basis. So providing opportunities, giving people incentive to start up the ladder. And I'll give you a great for instance. Temp companies, temp agencies. Temp agencies have a role, and they can provide you that start-off point to become involved in the workforce, regain your self-respect, become a productive person. And in society, that's super important to maintain some dignity and some self-respect. workforce development. It's a big thing in the county. And to be frank, it has its place, but it also, because of some of the mandates I'm sure it works under, can be something that doesn't work for small business. I'll give you a case in point. If I were going to hire you and 2 other people in my coffee shop, I would have to pay you $12 an hour. Minimum wage is 10. Now, the plus is for the first 3 months, I would only have to pay half your wage. So I would get you for 6 months, or $6 an hour, and the county would pay the balance. Here's the problem with that. 2 things. One, what happens after the 90 days? Well, now I have to pay your full $12 an hour salary, and that is very tough to do on a tight budget like I have at my shop. Second, it actually creates an opportunity for folks to abuse the system, because what it really says is, I don't care about you personally. I'm going to use you for 90 days, and then I'm going to send you down the road because I'm going to bring you in as a at-will employee. And at the end of that time, out you go, and I bring in some more. I'm sure that there's rules and regulations that you're not supposed to do that, but I'm equally sure it still happens. Big problem. So maybe some tweaks to that might help. Not quite sure what all those are, but sometimes it's more important to know the question than the answer.
You know, you mentioned about your small business. I had the opportunity to go up and watch you and your lovely wife in action doing that. Tell us more about how being a small business owner kind of helps you, or you believe will help you in your supervisor role, or even in your town council or city council role now.
Absolutely. I think every single elected official should have an opportunity to know what it's like to be a small businessman, because it gives you a different perspective. For me, there's nothing that I'm not able to do as a small business owner. I can bake with the best of them. I can make coffee. I can make sandwiches. I'm outside helping to lay concrete, pulling weeds, sweeping the floor, whatever it takes. So you learn very quickly that as a business owner, there's no glory to it.
Okay, I have another question for you. Why are you the best candidate for this race?
Simple. I am the hardest working supervisor you'll ever have, period. Now that's some serious shoes to fill, because there are some people like Josie Gonzalez who puts in an incredible amount of work. I have a lot of respect for Josie. Bill Postmas went through his troubles. He had some tribulations. But Bill Postmas was a hard worker, and he did a lot of very good things for this first district. I guarantee I will give you far more work than I receive in pay. And the biggest thing I will provide is engagement. I'm going to be there every day. And who you won't deal with are field reps. You'll deal with me. First and foremost, you elect the supervisor. You don't elect his field reps. You don't elect his staff or hers. You elect the representative. You have a right to know, as a Hesperian, you can go to a Hesperia City Council, and if you know that that's the council meeting that the supervisor generally attends, if you had a problem, you'll be able to address your supervisor because they'll be there. Likewise, at district meetings, school districts, MAC boards, park district. I thought about this the other day, and I added it up. In this county, or in this district, which is the biggest district in the biggest county in the entire world. Don't know if you knew that or not. 18,000 square miles, all the way from the top of the Cajon Pass to Needles and the Colorado River. So it's a huge district. It requires somebody that has the time and the energy and the willingness to put in the time, and that's my forte, is hard work. There's over 1,000 opportunities in a 4-year time frame to make meetings, well over. And if you only have 10 constituents at each meeting, that's 100,000 opportunities to meet the citizens. And because it's such a large, diverse area, it's not the same 100,000. And that's just making council meetings, school board meetings, too many times people get wrapped up in titles. Titles and me don't mesh. It's somewhat irrelevant to me. If I was going to be called anything, it would be a worker. My goal is to be that person that when I walk into Calico, for instance, somebody says, "Hey, there's the first district supervisor. Hey, Bill, how are you?" And matter of fact, I did get approached by Calico and some of the business owners and concessionaires there because they're having a hard time and they need support. People that live in Hellendale and Silver Lakes, people that live out in Needles and Yermo and some of the outlying areas, Baker, Barstow, outlying areas of Barstow because some of Barstow's in the 3rd district now. Trona. Those would all be my constituents. So my plea to you is if you like the way things have been and you enjoy the way things are, vote that way. But if you want to change, if you want somebody with an inordinate amount of energy, passion, and commitment, somebody who's willing to work far into the night and early the next day, I'm your guy. So a vote for Bill Holland on June 7th gets you just exactly that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Please, just don't vote.
Don't vote.
Don't vote.
Don't vote.
No, seriously, don't.
You don't care.
What's the point? Don't.
Don't vote.
Don't vote, really.
This is one of the biggest financial disasters in American history.
Why would you vote? Why would you vote?
Who cares? The economy's in the toilet. Who gives a I don't care. I got so much money.
Don't.
Out of the question.
Don't vote. Because who cares about, your children's education?
Reading, literacy? Really?
You're right. Don't vote.
It's a bad idea.
You don't have to.
Who cares about global warming and the fact that
Our polar ice caps are melting.
I hear polar bears can swim.
I forbid you to vote.
Stay where you are.
don't vote?
Because who gives a about terrorism?
The right to choose, the right to life, the right, any right.
I got 19 kids. Never used abortion once.
Seriously, do not vote. Voting is absurd.
It's ridiculous.
Who cares?
About the war on drugs?
I've never fought a war on drugs. I've never done on drugs besides played Halo 2.
Do not vote.
There's no point.
Why?
Cares about Darfur.
Darfur? I don't even know what that is. That sounds like a t-shirt company to me.
You don't care? I don't care.
Don't vote. Whatever you do, don't vote.
Nobody's listening to you. So, hey, you know what?
Don't vote unless you care about health care.
If you think that everybody deserves to be taken care of when they're sick, then
Maybe you should actually reconsider. Maybe you should vote.